Roaming in Siege often gets romanticized. We imagine hiding in a corner as a clueless attacker walks by straight into our trap. But really, how often does this actually happen to you? As you rise through the ranks, players are more prepared to deal with roamers. If you want to get better at roaming, stick around, and we will learn better habits to win more rounds. To do this, we will cover 3 main topics: roaming basics, roaming locations, and operator selection. Real quick, if you learned something from this video, please like and subscribe so I can make more of these, and let me know what you think in the comments. Alright, so let's start with the basics of roaming, and we can break this down into 2 sections: the purpose of roaming, and our objectives when we roam. So what's the purpose of roaming, and why is it so important? If all the defenders hole up in sight, attackers have free reign over the rest of the map. There are a few sites where this can work defensively, but generally, giving attackers little resistance outside of the bomb site is a bad idea. This is for 2 reasons. The first is time management. Attackers lose the round if time runs out, so if we don't slow them down, they dictate the pace. This gives them more time to figure out and dismantle your defense before they execute. The second reason is attacker focus. If we don't pressure attackers outside the bomb site, they only need to place their focus in one area. They can move confidently and change their approach while only needing to worry about the site. These 2 factors influence the entire round, and attackers that have full map control and lots of time have a much easier time winning those rounds. To stop the attackers dictating the pace and mess with their focus, we need to interrupt their push and slow them down. Every second that we delay adds time pressure for their push. So what does this look like in practice? We start by drone hunting. Attackers don't like to push without info, so try and take away as much as you can right from the start. Destroy their info drones in prep phase and early action phase. Doing this wastes time, as either they have to re-drone the same areas or push you blind. If attackers see you destroying drones, they will have to address you during the round, taking their focus off of the push. The next thing we can do is shape the map to our advantage. Use reinforcements to limit attacker routes and make their paths more predictable. They can help you hold certain rooms for longer as you have more hard cover to hide behind. Use soft walls to make new lines of sight so you have more angles to peek attackers from. This also gives them more angles to clear, slowing their push down. We can also make rotates in soft walls. These make us more mobile when engaging the enemy, and we can also use rotates to escape if the pressure is too high. This leads to our final objective of extending roam pressure for as long as we can. There's no reason to stand your ground. If you get an early pick, but you get traded, your roam pressure ends, and the attackers can focus back on their setup. So, when attackers are pushing, we need to stay mobile and make sure they can't pin us down. If you're getting droned, move. If they know where you are and push, back away. Use your map knowledge and rotation holes to change your position and invalidate the previous info they gathered. We need to make them spend as much time as possible finding us instead of working on their setup. If the attackers force you out of your roaming area, let them, because you already did your job. You wasted time and you made them worry about you more than their objective. If you escape, you're still in the back of their mind, hurting their focus, and you can take a more meaningful gunfight later on in the round when every second matters. If you focus on these objectives, you can waste time and break attacker focus. If we do it right, you are disrupting info, leading them on a chase, and getting in the way of their plan. Simple as that. You might have noticed, getting picks was not one of our objectives. Like I said, higher ranks aren't going to let you grab a 3K from hiding somewhere, and even something like an early trade doesn't help you nearly as much as it seems. It's not that kills are bad, you should take an easy pick, but don't prioritize it over staying alive to waste more time. This is one of the biggest mistakes players make when roaming, so if you can fix it, it puts you above your competition. Now that we know why and how to roam, we can focus on our positioning, or where we play. So how do we know where to roam on all the different maps in the game? What if I roam and no one pushes my spot? To address this, we need to identify the areas attackers like to go. This isn't as hard as it sounds because most sites have one or two default pushes and very obvious power positions. Default pushes are the most well-known planes of attack, and you'll see attackers use these all the time in ranked. Think about where you and your team have pushed before and what portions of the map you moved through. These are the paths that we need to identify and disrupt. For example, on Border, when the site is Armory, attackers need to open main wall on Balcony, and they also may want to take offices to pressure Archives as well. For both of these options, they need CCTV control. They have to move through that room and take control of it. We can roam in and around CCTV and delay this control so they spend more time stuck outside. If they bring heavy pressure on CC, we can use a rotate hole in 90 to escape to site or down metal stairs. For other maps, think about those default takes and where you could place yourself to slow them down. If you want to learn more about default pushes, let me know in the comments. In addition to default takes, attackers may seek out power positions where they can heavily influence the bomb site in their favor. Usually, these are positions with vertical elements, as attackers can open up site from above and wreak havoc on defenders inside. We should try to disrupt attacker control of these positions by roaming nearby or slowing them down on the way to these spots. One of the classic vertical sites is Basement on Clubhouse. Attackers have to spread out all over the first floor to open the 3 site hatches and vert lines of sight into Armory and hallway. So we disrupt this by shooting drones in the hatch rooms, playing nearby or above to delay the hard breach, and staying mobile by using stairways to access other areas of the map once we're being pushed out. There's a ton of maps with bomb sites that have vertical elements. If there's soft floor above your bomb site, you can count on attackers going there and exploiting it. If that's the case, you have to limit their access to this area because they will destroy you from above if you don't. Some players like to stay away from power positions initially and then flank the attackers once they've started their map control. Usually it's something like hiding on a different floor and then using a stairway to reach the attacker's level. Flanking can be very powerful, but it does involve some risk. Competent attackers are going to bring flank drones, claymores, and nomads to stop flanking defenders. If you're going to flank, try to find info so you don't walk into a trap. Can you see anyone on cams? Did attackers bring flank watch ops? If you confirm it's safe, go for it, but personally, I like to start my roam in or around the power position that I want to defend. This way attackers will need to clear me before they can start their setup, rather than me trying to stop their push once it's already been put in motion. When we're choosing our roaming position, we have to keep in mind how far away we are from the bomb site. Large maps with a ton of movement options are perfect for deep roaming, where we can be farther from site. All the different rooms and path options make it easy for us to stay mobile and harder for us to be found. Use this mobility to pop up in different areas and keep attackers guessing. When they apply pressure, use one of the many escape routes to stay alive to roam again. Smaller and more linear maps are better suited to a shallow roam. This is where we're just a few rooms away from site and act as first contact as the attackers push in. Since movement options are limited, attackers are forced to get through your position before they get to the site. You can think of this almost like extending the bomb site itself. This can be done vertically or horizontally, depending on the map setup and which bomb site you pick. While we're thinking about our distance from site, we need to remember not to be too far for too long. If attackers push directly to site, your team might need your help early in the round. In addition, you need to make sure you're close to site for that late round execution. It's fine to be far from site with a purpose, but you can't leave your team in sight out to dry. At around the 1:30 to 1 minute mark, you should start to collapse back to site so you can help defend the final push. In a shallow roam, falling back is easy since you're close already, but on deep roams, you have to be mindful and rotate back when it's time to help. So now that we know how to roam and where to roam, we can move on to who we are roaming with. Operator selection for roamers is pretty diverse, as there are a few characters that are marked as dedicated roamers and others that can fill the roaming role in a less traditional way. Before we break down the different roaming ops, I gotta clear something up real quick, and I'm sorry to all the Cav mains out there, but she stinks big time, and you should consider other options. Her guns are bad, and the ability's animation leaves too much time for attackers to help their downed teammate. If you want to prioritize info denial, you should use ops like Vigil, Solis, and Mozzie. Vigil and Solis have excellent weapons, and their abilities directly deny drone info and make it harder for attackers to pin down your exact location. Vigil can be invisible to drones, allowing him to dodge being spotted in the first place, or move invisibly and position himself somewhere new without attacker knowledge. Solis can hunt drones down and destroy them, and since she sees their locations through walls, she can keep herself out of their view. Vigil has impacts for rotates, so that's another plus for him, but either one of those is a great choice. These two are your two direct Cav replacements, as they fill the traditional sneaky, roaming playstyle, but better than Cav does. Mozzie is slightly different, as his gadget needs to be placed rather than it being an ability. You use him more as droning denial, so attackers have to re-drone areas after they've hit your trap. Place them in areas you know attackers need to drone through. If you do get a drone, place it somewhere where it can watch your back. That way you have to watch less angles as the attackers move around you. Other operators can physically slow down the attackers to delay their map control and give you info. These are ops like Lesion, Melusi, Ela, Fenrir. All of these ops work similarly, you just need to place the gadget in some sort of choke point that the attackers have to physically walk through. Each trap has its own effects, but basically once the trap's activated, you have info on a vulnerable enemy. You can use these traps to swing, but the real benefit is getting info on their location. Getting info on where your enemy is allows you to react and focus your attention rather than trying to watch everything at once. If I know someone hit my goo in one direction, I might want to move to engage that position, rotate for cover, or even escape if it's too heavy. Personally, I like Lesion and Fenrir for this playstyle because they both have great primaries, secondary shotguns for soft walls, and their gadgets are very effective. The ops I just mentioned have gadgets that can directly impact your roaming ability, but you don't need to pick those ones just because they're quote roaming operators. You can really pick anyone who doesn't absolutely have to stay on site or stop the plant. Someone like Jaeger and Rook can roam because they have passive gadgets that get placed in prep phase, and they have good guns. Sometimes you place Goyos down to stop the plant later in the round, and then you go roam. In the first 2/3 of the video, I didn't even mention a single operator gadget, because these principles apply no matter where you're playing. Obviously, don't roam with Cade if you need to keep the main wall closed, but you should pick your roaming operators based on how you use them and how they fit into your team's composition. This all falls under the larger topic of operator roles, and I plan on going over these in more detail for both attack and defense in the near future. So, to wrap up, roaming's not about getting kills off-site. It's about wasting the attacker's time and diverting their focus. If you use the tips we learned about today, you'll notice attackers having a harder time getting their jobs done, and in the long run, this playstyle change will win you more games. Alright guys, that's all I've got for roaming. I'm not a professional Rainbow Six player, so I'm liable to make mistakes or miss stuff occasionally. I had to rewrite and edit this script a lot because I didn't want to bloat the video, but I didn't want to miss any important info either. So, if you have any input, please let me know in the comments below. Anyway, thanks for watching, and like and subscribe to see the next video. I'll see ya.